Dear C, whatever. Oh, thank you, Emily. Good evening. Welcome to Shamatha Vipassana in the Mahamudra tradition class 4. We begin with sitting. Just relax into your seat. Look around. Make sure it's you. Make sure you're in the right place. And then breathe deep a little bit. Ideally into the lower abdomen. Just relaxing, not doing anything. Eyes open. And then let the deep breathing collect your energy from the abdomen upwards. Bring the energy upwards as you extend your spine upwards as fully as possible along its natural curve or curves. Top of the head to the ceiling. And then open your chest. Bring your arms back and down, shoulder blades down. And continue breathing deeply, evenly. Then gradually shift to emphasizing the out breath. Just letting go onto the out breath. And riding the breath out on each out breath. And in between, just rest, relax, experience the space. Come back to your posture in the next out breath. And open your awareness to the space in front of you. And imagine there's an invisible wall from floor to ceiling that cuts your body in half, goes directly up the middle of your body. Through your butt, into your torso, and up through your head. And with your eyes, you can see the forward part of the room in front of that sheet. And then see if you can identify the space behind you, the other side of that sheet. And then relax with the whole thing. And connect with your senses, the sense of sight, the light, the colors, sense of sound, whatever you hear in your room, my voice, whatever else is going on. Maybe inside your body you hear something as well. Some gurgling from dinner, blood flowing, whatever. Let's see if you can identify where you're looking from. And reach your hand back, then back of your head. And see if you can sort of feel, where is it I feel like I'm looking from? See if you can identify that spot. Maybe it's the back of the head. Maybe it's in a little bit. Where does it feel like? Maybe start at the front and like, where am I looking from? Just see if you can identify where you're looking from as you're seeing the whole visual field. And then relax and let go of that. Just open the gaze to the full periphery. Connect again with the breath and extend out into space, in front and around. When you find yourself thinking, label it and come back. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. In order that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood, from my heart I take refuge in the three jewels. Whatever the virtues of the many fields of knowledge, all are steps on the path of omniscience. May this arise in the clear mirror of intellect. O Manjushri, please accomplish this. Hey, good evening again. Here we are. Hold on. Hey, so tonight we'll finish up the introduction and hopefully go through the author's biography. So I believe that we were on page L11, LII, chapter 11. Is that right?
I made a note XLIX, but I don't know.
XLIX.
I'm just testing you guys. Okay. So here we go. Back on XLIX. XLIX. Page XLIX. So funny how Roman numerals mess with your mind, right? Okay, so chapter 10, pointing out instructions, starts with a presentation of what we are to ascertain. The abiding state of mind and connateness or co-emergence. And since we have no idea what co-emergence or connateness rather is, we'll wait till we get there. But we'll get little inklings, actually major bits and pieces of connateness as we go through the text. But it's sort of better to let the text lead us through its own explanation of connateness as opposed to me coming up with something, at least at this point, if that's okay. It's sort of a connate presentation between the book and me. The description of the abiding state of mind is based on the records of Gampopa's teachings on the essence, nature, and characteristics of mind. It's this famous triad that mind has an essence, it has a nature, and then it has characteristics like any phenomena. While all three are simply different terms used for the same intrinsic essence of mind. All are different terms used for the same intrinsic essence of mind, even though one of them is essence. They point to its different facets, as Gampopa says. The essence of mind is that it is clear yet non-conceptual. He's not talking about my mind. My mind is highly conceptual. He's talking about his mind. Its nature is that it is free from arising, abiding, and ceasing. Its characteristic is that it appears as both samsara and nirvana. This is different from what those of you who have studied Dzogchen or Great Completion tradition in Tibetan Buddhism might be familiar with. But that's the scheme that he uses in the Mahamudra tradition. Essence is clear, non-conceptual. Nature, free from arising, abiding, and ceasing. Characteristic is that it appears as everything, samsara and nirvana. In ascertaining conateness, certain texts, it is said that the essence of conateness is natural luminosity. Remember, luminosity is not necessarily light. Luminosity is the quality of the mind that knows, that knowing quality of the mind. Like when we use the phrase, it was illuminated to me, or that example illuminated the situation clearly. Connate means that all phenomena and their nature are present simultaneously from the beginning. So all phenomena and their nature. It sort of goes without saying, but I guess it's important to say it, that phenomena, wherever they go, they bring their nature with them. It's like a lot of people bring their dogs or their cats with them wherever they go. And in this case, phenomena bring their nature wherever they go. And means that all phenomena and their nature are present simultaneously from the beginning, with neither preceding or following the other. So it's not like one quality precedes the other qualities of those three. They all appear simultaneously, as opposed to there being this clear non-conceptuality, and then out of that comes the manifestations that all appear simultaneously. Connate. Connateness is typically classified as ground, path, and fruition, which is a sequential presentation. But in this context, the divisions used are those made by Gampopa. The connateness of mind itself and the connateness of appearances as being one. And so this terminology of connateness is a little unusual. And I think, again, it's best over time to get some inkling of why why the phrase is used in this way. Because we would say, like, well, if it's connate, then there's two things that are happening naturally together. But the translator says the connateness of mind itself and the connateness of appearances. You would think that she might have said the connateness of mind itself and appearances, but instead she says them separately. So let that remain as something that we will gradually work towards understanding that nuance. These are augmented by Gomchung's split of the latter, meaning the connateness of appearances, into the connateness of appearances and the connateness of thoughts. So the relationship between appearances and thoughts is one of one is included in the other. Anyone guess what's included in the other? Which one is included in the other?
Thoughts are included in appearances.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. What else is included in appearances?
All phenomena.
That's right. Sense appearances is usually the breakdown. Thoughts and sense appearances are make up all phenomena. A short mention is made of connate union, a term used by Gampopa to refer to the practice of uniting mind itself, dharmata, or emptiness. So here the translator is giving us a little hint that the nature of mind itself is dharmata, or emptiness. So she says dharmata, or emptiness, implying that those two are the same, that dharmata and emptiness are the same, and that the nature of, and that mind itself is emptiness, known as dharmata in Sanskrit. Let's see, short mention is made of connate union, a term used by Gampopa to refer to the practice of uniting mind itself with its display. So mind itself, emptiness with its display, awareness, clarity, thoughts, or appearances. Since Gampopa says that this is what he practiced, the term seemed to have originated with him, and it is used later in the Tokpo Kagyu traditions to refer to his own style of Mahamudra instruction. Next, this chapter provides the actual pointing out of connateness in three sections. Pointing out the connateness of mind itself, which we just learned was dharmata, or emptiness, um, of thoughts, and of appearances. Can anyone guess what the nature of thoughts and appearances is? If mind is dharmata, or emptiness, what about thoughts and appearances? What are they?
Also empty.
Same thing. Why do we have different words? In each instance, it provides instructions, it meaning the chapter, that combine shamatha and vipassana in each of these instances. In pointing out the connateness of thoughts, a section in the text or another text, Tashinamgyal corrects misunderstandings about the meaning of thoughts and dharmakaya, and takes issue with Sakya Pandita's adherence to the tenet of the inseparability of samsara and nirvana on the one hand, while being an adversary of the expressions thoughts or dharmakaya and delusion arises as wisdom. So this is a subtle point that the author will actually come back to over and over again, and the translator brings it in here, which is that um, so the quote, the Sakya Pandita's adherence to, and then we have quote marks. She's not quoting from Sakya Pandita. Elizabeth is quoting from Tashi Namgyal, who says that Sakya Pandita adheres to this idea of the inseparability of samsara and nirvana. It's a fundamental principle of basically any Mahayana Buddhist tradition. However, he has a hard time with expressions such as thoughts or dharmakaya. It's like, okay, samsara and nirvana are the same, but well, thoughts aren't. Are they really dharmakaya? So he hedged on that one. And delusion arises as wisdom. That's an even harder one. It's like ignorance arises as wisdom. Is that possible? So um, the author is saying that Sakya Pandita had a hard time with these two equivalencies, and the and that Tashi Namgyal had no problem with them, and so he corrects those misunderstandings. And so that's part of this chapter called pointing out. So he's pointing out the subtleties of the view of these different entities in this Kagyu tradition. Last part of chapter 10 is devoted to how to eliminate problems in meditation and identify flawless meditation. The first subsection contains advice relating to various types of shamatha and vipassana experiences we may have, and includes the following observations from Gampopa during stillness. I'm sure we're all conversant with that. um, non-conceptuality is prolonged. During stillness, we experience non-conceptuality. If you prolong non-conceptuality as the essence of mind, you do not understand the key point of Dharma. Did I get that right? Did you, did I think that non-conceptuality was the essence of mind? I must have said that, and Gampopa is correcting me. So the essence of mind is not non-conceptuality. We tend to think that, right? We tend to think, oh, when my meditation is non-conceptual, when I have non-conceptual experience, that's the true nature. That's the key point of Dharma. Gampopa is saying, if you think that way, you do not understand the key point of Dharma, which presumably would be that both conceptuality and non-conceptuality are the same, and they are the essence of mind together. And some regard blocking every thought as it arises and resting with the mind wrapped up in non-conceptuality is a positive thing. We all try to do that, right? That cannot serve as the path. It will cripple wisdom. Wow. Ed, dive in.
I was just non-conceptuality um, is not the nature essence of mind. Um, so what does that include, though? How non-conceptuality just means being without concept, but there's so
Right.
much more activity. I mean, is that we were talking about the Klish, Klishtamanus or
The seventh consciousness.
seventh consciousness? Is that conceptual? Even it,
Yes, yeah, the seventh consciousness is the root of concept. And it has one big concept that it sort of fixated on, the concept of me.
but
Well,
that doesn't have to
we
be
each have that.
any words or anything. So concepts don't necessarily have to mean using words.
That's right, there's non-conceptual ignorance. So
Mhm.
non-conceptuality doesn't mean wisdom. We tend to think that way. We tend to strive for a non-conceptual state, thinking that it's equivalent to wisdom. But it's a helpful pointer, but it has the capability of misleading us to think that that's the road to continue on, to the exclusion of conceptuality, a
Okay,
dualistic way of proceeding.
thank you.
Chapter 10's The Identification of Flawless Meditation is a three-part discussion of ordinary mind. It states first that ordinary mind means the natural mind, the naturally luminous mind. Second, that it is uncontrived. And third, that recognizing ordinary mind and sustaining that in meditation is Mahamudra meditation. Do you remember the cartoon Mr. Natural?
Mhm.
So Mr. Natural had an ordinary mind, and this is what's being talked about. Ordinary mind means the natural mind of Mr. Natural. It's naturally luminous before we do anything to it. Second, it's uncontrived. It's not like manipulated in any way than Mr. Natural. And third, that recognizing that uncontrived natural mind and sustaining that in meditation is Mahamudra meditation. Seems like going backwards. It's like we feel like through cultivating understanding of the Dharma, the subtleties of the Dharma, which we study in great detail, and identify, sort of cultivate a very advanced state of mind that understands the subtleties of Dharma through meditation and then through study. And yet here they're focused on the natural, ordinary mind, interestingly enough. Sustaining Mahamudra again focuses, chapter 11, Sustaining Mahamudra again focuses on the role of mindfulness and alertness, the two main factors of shamatha, and includes conscientiousness, the third one, which in Tibetan is Pakya, and Trungpa Rinpoche goes through these in the profound treasury. This time, but as always, the greatest emphasis is placed on mindfulness of the three, because it's understood to include the other two. Up to this point, the discussions of mindfulness have emphasized its function of not forgetting the object of meditation and maintaining an undistracted mind, which is the more common or shared understanding of mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition. Now the understanding of mindfulness is expanded, starting with its being the state of mind that takes up virtue, which is also common to the Buddhist tradition. The teaching, Sutra of the Teaching of Akshayamati, which is a famous teaching, Sutra of the Buddha, of what's called the second turning of the wheel of the Dharma. The mindfulness that is part of the path to awakening. What is true mindfulness on the path to awakening? It is the mindfulness that realizes phenomena. So it's not just like being mindful of phenomena. It's that faculty of mind that realizes phenomena. And this goes back to Vasubandhu and his treasury of knowledge, Abhidharma rather, where he says, he defines mindfulness as prajna, as wisdom, as understanding, interestingly. Mindfulness is what discerns phenomena. It is that which analyzes phenomena. It accompanies phenomena. It reflects upon phenomena. It considers phenomena. That mindfulness realizes the characteristics belonging to each and every phenomena. Clearly a very much expanded idea of mindfulness than we're used to. The Compendium of Dharma Sutra presents the Bodhisattva's foundation of mindfulness, child of good family. What is the Bodhisattva's foundation of mindfulness? What is mindfulness? What is the abode of mindfulness? I will answer these questions, which is a very common format for the sutras of the Buddha, where he poses all of these questions, either to himself, that we would want to ask him, and then he answers them, each and every one, or he has some other bodhisattva ask him questions, and then he answers each and every one of them. This is like famous throughout the sutras, and he doesn't hedge or like go off into other topics like politicians do and like totally avoid the questions. He actually answers every question. Lanka Avatara Sutra, I think, the Bodhisattva Mahamudra asks him like 50 questions. The whole sutra, he goes through these questions. Okay, so child of good family. Mindfulness is the Bodhisattva's recognition that phenomena are unborn. Bodhisattvas have the aspiration to know the unborn. Their mindfulness is fully trained through the recognition of the unborn. Always imperturbable, their mindfulness is unwavering. Its depths and limits are unfathomable. So in this case, you'd have to sort of parse it out to find the foundation of mindfulness, the definition and the abode, but it's in there. Tashi Namgyal next outlines 4 types of mindfulness, which progress from the mindfulness involving effort to effortless mindfulness. Totally different scheme from the famous 4 foundations of mindfulness in the Buddha's Satipatthana Sutta. He then takes up the question of the meaning of non-mindfulness. Excuse me. Non-mindfulness and non-attention, or the lack of mental engagement. He gives a brief synopsis. Non-mindfulness and non-attention refer to sustaining the stream of non-conceptual wisdom that is discovered through first analyzing with prajna. Does that seem like a preference for non-conceptuality there? Yeah, so that will be unraveled as well. So let's see. A brief synopsis of this idea of non-mindfulness, non-attention, lack of mental engagement. Non-mindfulness and non-attention refer to sustaining the stream of non-conceptual wisdom that is discovered through first analyzing with prajna. So it's not non-conceptual mind, but it's non-conceptual wisdom. And wisdom and mind are separate. Next, meditative equipoise. Well, they're related. They're connate. but they have different names. Next, meditative equipoise and meditative attainment are post-meditative attainment are identified based on the words of Shang Rinpoche, famous Mahamudra teacher in the Kagyu tradition. Very controversial. Sakya Pandita had a really hard time with him. Resting in unceasing, empty clarity, vibrant and crisp, without center or edge, like the middle of a clear open space, is the first meditative equipoise of the first. Is the meditative equipoise of the first yoga. So the first yoga is the first of the four Mahamudra yogas, or yogas of Mahamudra, the four stages of the path in the Mahamudra tradition, or as outlined in the Mahamudra tradition, which encompasses the more traditional 5 paths and 10 bhumis. And the first yoga is the perfection of shamatha. And this, I'm sure, is what all of us here experience when we meditate. Empty clarity, vibrant, crisp, without center or edge, like the middle of a clear, open space. When a thought appears within that, even if you are meditating on your cushion, that is post-meditative attainment. We usually call post-meditation like when you get up and partake in the bulk of your life, the rest of your life. But traditionally, it's when you're not in non-conceptual wisdom, when thoughts occur. If you remain in vibrant, crisp clarity, emptiness, while talking, moving, or sitting around, you remain in a state of meditative equipoise. So it's like talking or walking and chewing gum at the same time. If you can remain in meditative recognition as you're talking, moving, and sitting around. That's a funny phrase. Then that's post-meditative attainment. So it's not post-meditation, but it's attainment after equipoise. So equipoise is when there's complete unity, empty clarity, vibrant, crisp, without center or edge, middle of a clear open space. And then after that, there's the movement of thought. And to the extent that you can remain in vibrant, crisp clarity, emptiness, you remain in meditative equipoise of the post-meditative state.
But it's funny that it seems like what he's saying is it's meditative equipoise, no problem, except if a thought arises. You can walk, talk, chew gum, whatever, and still be in meditative equipoise. But a thought, it doesn't seem to allow for movement in this.
Yes, exactly. So that was the next point, is that there is a difference between meditative equipoise and thoughts. And so that also we need to unravel.
It's a little odd because, like, imagine, for example, talking with no thought involved. I mean, I'm sure lots of people do it all the time, but there's something a little odd about that.
Oh no, that's attainment. That's the word. The emphasis is on attainment. So when a thought appears within that, if you're able to remain within that, then it's still attainment. It's just not equipoise attainment.
But
It's
the idea that talking is in equipoise, but a thought is not?
No. The next 3 sentences are a further elaboration on when a thought appears within that. It should say, like, similarly, if you're able to remain in vibrant, crisp clarity, emptiness, while thinking, talking,
Well, it
moving, or
doesn't say
sitting.
thinking though. That's why I'm puzzled.
That's the meaning. You got to trust me on that. But when we get there, it'll
Okay,
flesh it
all
out
right.
more.
Yeah,
But
this is odd. Yeah, thanks.
that's the meaning. This is followed by some famous pithy advice on the ways to sustain Mahamudra meditation, including Gampopa's 3 skills, Tilopa's 6 ways to rest, Gampopa's 4 methods: remain relaxed, rest in freshness, rest freely, and rest loosely. which probably all sound the same, but for him those were different things. Tashi Namgyal sums these up, saying, no matter how long we are able to sustain meditative equipoise, the point is that we need to bring out clarity awareness right within the essence of mind and have the quality of stillness that is not distracted from that. The next instructions are not to meditate with mental formulations, in other words, not meditate on anything, and to sustain that without being distracted. Formless meditation. Non-meditation and non-distraction sum up all the previous methods and contain both shamatha and vipassana. Non-meditation and non-distraction. As Tashi Namgyal says, leaving the mind in its natural condition without meditating is shamatha. I think it said without meditating. Did I get that right? Leaving the mind in its natural condition without meditating is shamatha, so you're not contriving. Not being distracted from the nature of that mind is vipassana. Non-meditation is shamatha, and non-distraction is vipassana. Non-meditation and non-distraction becoming of equal taste, blending them contains all the points related to unifying shamatha vipassana. So that's a very difficult chapter. Now we go back to sort of more relatable chapters. Chapter 11 is the methods for sustaining post-meditative attainment begins with. Yes, please.
Is it saying that we have to meditate so that we can understand how to not meditate?
Well, it's not saying that you have to,
Okay. But
but
to learn how to, but
it's encouraging. It's saying if you want to experience non-meditation, then you have to get there through meditation.
yes, that makes sense actually when you say it like that somehow.
Remember in the Royal Song of Mahamudra, the Royal Seal rather, sorry, the idea of destroying your meditation?
Yes, I
Uh,
do.
yeah, so that's the non-contrivance, is at some point the act of meditating, the formal process of it becomes something that we gain attachment to. And, this is advanced stages, right? These are not like where I am, but this is advanced practice where you let go of the whole idea of meditating or not meditating without being distracted. That's the sort of
Being
that's the
distracted means
catch.
being the thoughts, like being distracted on the cushion, like you're caught in the thoughts.
Right,
So the
right.
Vipassana means the thoughts are there, but they're not taking you anywhere.
Thank you.
So then what is the differentiation between meditation and I don't not non-meditation and meditation, but just well, I guess what is meditation? This is really blowing my mind.
I think Rob just said it. Say it again, Rob.
Well, I
What is
understand what
meditation?
Rob said. Is he saying the same thing? Then I'm good, I guess, or I'll figure it out later.
I,
Don't want to hold you guys up.
Cynthia.
well, I would say also that when we say you have to do meditation in order to get to non-meditation, that's the general case. It's possible there's some extraordinary people who might be able to, just sit and, experience non-meditation and ordinary mind on their own somehow. It's possible but rare. So for most people, meditation is the means by which you settle down enough to be able to then experience the other possibility.
Yeah,
How
thank you,
about going?
Cynthia. But so Tara, did you see the chat that Tara posted? So if you look at your chat, it says the essence of meditation. Where's the chat? There it is. The essence of meditation is awareness. Does that sound familiar?
Is that in a chant somewhere?
Yeah, did we chant
Maybe
it?
do we do that? We don't do that one, do we? Maybe we should. Maybe we should add that to our beginning chants for the
Uh,
course.
I think the Kagyu chant, the essence of thought is Dharmakaya, as is thought, nothing arises but everything. Something like that, right?
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. So that's saying what we're talking about, that the essence of meditation is awareness. So if you're aware and talking and moving about, that's meditation. If you're not distracted, if you're aware as you're thinking, that can be meditation.
So I'm clear on that differentiation between meditation and non-meditation. But I guess what I'm confused about is when we're in whatever you call it, samsaric mind, and then meditation. So is am I making
Well,
sense?
when you're in samsaric mind, you're not
So
in.
the difference between what you guys were just talking about is the difference between, or the line between I'm meditating and now I'm in non-meditation, but go the other way, whereas, one person is in samsaric mind and then they start to meditate. Am I making sense?
Yeah, so a person like me is in my samsaric mind, and ideally I sit down and meditate, and I'm trying to be aware and trying to be non-distracted and trying to be mindful and alert and conscientious.
You're doing some type of a technique.
Right, right.
And then when you give up all that trying, you might actually be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's say I do that for 50 years, and somehow I uh, progress. And at some point, I forget that I'm meditating, but I'm still
Right.
vibrantly aware and alert.
Okay.
And then it becomes so deep, so powerful, that experience of being aware, even even when thoughts arise, I can remain that way. Even when I get up from meditation, I can remain that way.
Right.
So
Okay.
Sarha, the grandfather of Mahamudra, so to speak, at least in this tradition, has this famous phrase in one of his dohas where every moment of mind is samadhi. We're never not in samadhi because whatever it is that we're distracted to, we're mindful of. We're always mindful of some object, but usually it just flits around all over the place. But
Mm. Thank you.
let's see. Here the emphasis is primarily on the experience of the connateness of mind itself, but with a slightly different orientation. Now, it's not that the manifestations of thoughts or appearances are rounded up and then stopped or made to vanish as if are narrowing in on the essence of mind, or like the good part of mind. Be mindful, aware, without grasping, that all thoughts are empty movements and all appearances are empty appearances. So if you're able to maintain that view, that that everything is empty, then we never move from when we go from one thing to another. Our mind doesn't move. We don't abide anywhere. Our mind doesn't settle anywhere. This section also contains instructions for taking thoughts as the path. Wow, what a bizarre thing to do. Aren't we trying to get away from thoughts? And experiencing the post-meditative state is illusion-like. Okay, we've heard that before. The famous Lojong slogan, in post-meditation, be a child of illusion. I think there's one right there. There's a child of illusion. Emily's has one. Let's see, the first are instructions Gampopa received from his Kadampa teacher Geshe Chakri on the 3 ways to incorporate thoughts into the path. One, as the impact of meeting as the after effect and as non-existent fantasies. In the way post-meditative attainment manifests as illusion-like section of this text, Tashi Namgyal clarifies the meaning of illusion-like and of the sayings, sustain the mind naturally settled without contrivance, and sustain the mind experiencing unsettled circumstances without altering it. See, these are advanced stages of sort of perfecting the union of shamatha and vipassana after having understood the view experientially. By both pointing out wrong understandings and correct ones, he explains the way to mix meditative equipoise with post-meditative attainment and how that occurs on all levels of the four yogas, one-pointedness and the others. Chapter 12, Eliminating Deviations and Strains, addresses how to eliminate deviations, strains, and hindrances in meditation. There are 4 deviations in relation to emptiness, which have 2 modes each. So misunderstandings of emptiness experientially. There's a fundamental deviation and then a temporary deviation for each of the 4. The 4 are deviating from emptiness as the basic nature of noble objects, as the path, as the remedy, and as the seal. So thinking that emptiness is the nature of noble objects, thinking of that emptiness is the path, thinking that emptiness is a remedy, and thinking that emptiness is a seal. And we say that, all things are sealed with emptiness. That's what Mahamudra is sometimes described as. But that's a
So,
deviation, if not
so we
understood.
could,
Yes, sir?
Nat, you could say the way he's describing it, those are all conceptual views of emptiness
Yeah, more fully, they're dualistic.
and dualistic, yes.
Thank you. Strain occurs in relation to the 3 types of experiences, which we've heard about many times. These are 3 types of experience that one has as one cultivates and develops and advances in shamatha practice in particular. Bliss or pleasure, bliss being a sort of highfalutin term, whereas it's more aptly described as just pleasure or joy or well-being. Clarity, the knowing quality of the mind, and non-conceptuality or non-thought, sometimes it's translated as. If we fixate on them, they become strains. As Tashi Namgyal says, most experiences which are part of bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality become strains due to the following circumstances. And Trungpa Rinpoche talks about these 3 in the profound treasury at the end of the foundation of mindfulness of mind, when he goes through the 4 foundations in volume 1. Let's see. When we aren't certain that all those experiences, bliss, clarity, non-conceptuality, are free from an essence that arises or ceases, that they have no nature that can be identified, and that they are unborn emptiness, we go astray by reifying or by taking to be real those meditative experiences that, born of latent tendencies, arise as mere conventionalities through the interdependence of the channels, the winds, and bindus in the body. So he's talking about the elements of the subtle body. The channels are the pathways along which sort of subtle body energy moves. The winds are the energies that carry the essences of awareness and other energies throughout the channels of the body. And the bindus are the essence of different aspects of being or awareness. Therefore, we should sustain our meditation with the continuous mindfulness that ascertains everything to be unborn without the clinging that reifies. By doing so, we will keep from strain. And the implication of the channels, winds, and bindus is that there's certain functionality of those 3 that produce the 3 experiences. When those 3 aspects of our subtle body take on certain manifestations or interactions. They produce bliss or clarity or non-conceptuality. Chapter 12 concludes with brief sections on clearing away the general hindrances for samadhi, which are the two big ones, dullness and agitation, referring us back to Chapter 1's more extensive discussion and on clearing away outer and inner hindrances. Chapter 13, enhancement, has two parts, breaking through to the unborn transparency of mind. If it's unborn, like, wow, what is it if it's unborn? Let's see, and refinement through the conducts for path integration. Breakthrough, this technical term, is a term defined in a Mahayana context as reaching a conclusion. However, here it means to have cut through conceptual elaborations about your own mind. So in the Mahayana, it means breaking through the sort of ignorance of a certain type of mind or about a certain topic and having a realization, breakthrough, just like more in English, in the Western terminology of breakthrough. But here it means to have cut through conceptual elaborations about your own mind, such as that it arises, abides, or ceases, or that it has three periods of time, the past, present, and the future. And this phrase, the arising, abiding, and ceasing of mind, is probably a little foreign to us, and it helps if you think about it a little bit. And when you do, make sure to note that mind is an impermanent phenomena that happens in very infinitesimally small moments. So when they talk about arising, abiding, and ceasing of mind, they're talking about that mind that is radically impermanent. Arises, abides, and ceases instantaneously. And so here you see. Oh,
There's
sorry. Yes, ma'am.
so the essence of mind is permanent, right?
Well, we wouldn't say that. We wouldn't say that the essence of mind is permanent or unchanging because the essence is empty. So we can't say that emptiness is permanent because permanent and impermanent apply to phenomena that are identifiable as having characteristics.
Okay.
And you can't say that that's which has no characteristics or is beyond characteristics is permanent. But they do say it a different way. they get out of that bind by saying, well, it's unceasing.
Yeah. Okay.
Find
Yeah.
a subtle little difference.
No beginning and no end. Unceasing.
Yep. So you cut through conceptual elaborations of your mind, such as thinking that it abides, ceases, and arises, or that it has past, present, and future, and to have reached the conclusion that it is a great, unborn transparency. Transparency. This discussion and the accompanying instructions follow the previous chapters because of the timing of breakthroughs. As Tashi Namgyal says, breakthroughs are when as practitioners we have purified stagnant experiences of bliss, clarity, or non-conceptuality, and we arouse brilliant clarity in our awareness. Then meditation on space-like clarity, emptiness, is an unbroken flow. So you see that there is like this continuity of experience of in meditation, but it's described in a way that goes beyond the duality of conceptual mind and non-conceptual mind. that experience, so meditation on space like clarity, emptiness, and an unbroken flow, or that experience of space like clarity, emptiness is an unbroken flow, even with the allure of daytime appearances. In brief, when all thoughts are empty clarity and appearances are empty appearances, and we experience all as illusion like with decisive certainty, that is a breakthrough. In this context, direct yogic perception. So direct yogic perception is the experience of practitioners in the Buddhist tradition who have achieved the third path of seeing, or some stage above that. And the third path of seeing is the stage of experiencing emptiness directly, i.e. non-conceptually, and is the first stage of enlightenment in the Buddhist tradition. So the experience of people who have reached that stage, their mental experience is called direct yogic perception. We can't talk about thoughts or feelings or emotions or non-thoughts at that point. All they have is direct yogic perception. In this context, direct yogic perception is needed and misinterpretations are to be cut through experientially. So we're talking about the accomplishment of the second yoga of Mahamudra, simplicity or absence of elaborations. That's where one experiences the path of seeing. Thoughts, appearances, the
Hey,
object of.
Derek.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just back up for a second and ask about stagnate experiences of bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality in that
Yeah,
quote?
yeah. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm curious about, because that would seem, experiencing those would seem like a breakthrough in and of itself to me. And I'm wondering if that has any relationship to like experiencing gaps or flashes. Is that an example of a stagnate experience of one of those?
It is. It is. The idea is that those experiences are entirely stagnant. It's not like you have non-stagnate and stagnate ones, but those experiences are lower experiences in the path: bliss, clarity, non-conceptuality. And we experience bliss as well-being in meditation. We experience clarity as like when suddenly you figure out like how to do something, or you have an insight into a discussion or some issue in your life. And then non-conceptuality we experience as the famous gaps, and those are the experience of uh, the progression of shamatha practice. And those by
Okay,
definition are stagnate because they hold us back in the end. They're
right.
nice.
Okay.
They're nice landmarks, and they are quite enjoyable and great and nice, but they do hold us back. And so those are the
if we cling to
characteristics.
them.
There's a huge tendency to cling to them, and then they hold us back if we cling to them. If we don't cling to them, we just go through them. But those are the fundamental characteristics of the nature of samsaric mind in the form of the Alaya Vijnana. The Alaya Vijnana
Got it.
has pure bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality. It's the nature of the Alaya Vijnana, the eighth consciousness. And so the path of shamatha brings us into direct experience of the Alaya Vijnana face to face. We settle into the Alaya Vijnana through shamatha, the accomplishment of shamatha, and then with vipassana we break through, ideally, hopefully, break through the Alaya Vijnana into wisdom, which is not a consciousness. There's eight consciousnesses, and when you bust out of that framework, you experience primordial wisdom mind. So when we have the
And that's,
four, sorry,
I just said that's the breakthrough they're talking about here,
yeah,
breaking through
that
that.
is the breakthrough. That's right.
Okay.
And so when the Buddha gives the four reliances early on in his teachings, rely on the teaching, not the teacher, rely on the meaning, not the words, rely on the definitive meaning, not the interpretable meaning, and rely on wisdom, not consciousness. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about how Consciousness goes as far as the eighth consciousness, and we have to break through that to wisdom. And so the path involves differentiating consciousness and wisdom. The path of meditation, the path of study consists of differentiating interpretable and definitive meaning, and the path of meditation involves differentiating mind and wisdom, consciousness and wisdom. Let's see. In this context, direct yogic perception is needed and misinterpretations are to be cut through experientially. Thoughts, appearances, the object of meditation, and the meditator are examined in ways that are similar to what was presented in the previous sections on Vipassana and pointing out the connateness of thoughts and appearances. We are urged to not only have conclusive certainty about the essence of each, but also to destroy any clinging we might have to that certainty. I guess clinging is sort of a no-no, you might say, right? So much for cling wrap or saran wrap. Specific instructions are given on how to cultivate a breakthrough in the actual breakthrough to the unborn transparency of mind section of the text, the achievement of which is described by Tashi Namgyal as follows. Your attachments to good experiences or grasping at joyful sensations will unravel. Your clinging to negative, confused thoughts as problems, and your annoyance with them will subside. Whatever ordinary state of mind you have, or arises or manifests, it is of the nature of meditation, an expression of emptiness. When all the appearances of the world arise as objects for the mind, they are self-arising, self-occurring. When they subside, they are self-pacifying, self-liberating. This is the unrivaled, single, transparent state. Everything is of the nature of meditation. Meditation is a constant flow. Meditation never goes away. He's referring to Saraha's quote that I mentioned. Oh, here. This is followed by a series of quotations which begins with Saraha. Mind in its essence is free from faults and virtues. That state needs no actions at all. The mind that's let go of actions is sublime, great bliss.
So it's almost talking about like short sessions again.
That's an interesting response.
I,
It
I
is.
think that at this point, aren't they just talking about all the time?
Well, yeah, but short sessions, because if you want to let go of clinging, then stop clinging.
Stop clinging to your meditation. I
Yeah,
think though, I
exactly.
think
Like, oh, this feels good. Okay, we can stop now.
I think actually at this stage we're past the stage of short sessions.
Oh yeah? Okay.
You know, initially one does short sessions so that one recognizes the connateness of mind,
Right.
and then this when one does that, then you work on sustaining. That was the section on sustaining. Is the
So
idea to
we're back
sustain?
to sustaining now.
That's right.
And don't cling while you sustain.
Right. So after sustaining is the breakthrough.
Okay.
Then you
So
sort of,
it feels really good, but still stay over there.
and it ends with several
But
quotations
that
from
is a good
Gongpo Buddha.
it is a good point. How do you not cling? I mean, when these experiences come up, we don't grasp onto them, but we don't want to push them away either, do we?
That's right.
Yeah, so that's, I guess that's the answer. Good, thank you.
Because in a sense, they're not. I mean, we used to always. I think when we first learned about them, we tended to learn that as if they were bad things, because they tend to trap you. But the fact is, they're just signposts. They're a sign that you're doing practice. Because you practice, these things will arise. But if you cling, then you're going to get stuck and you'll not get further. So it's like, nice to see you. So long.
Yeah, you can end up going on a different path, like the path of bliss. You focus on meditations that lead you to bliss, and there's many traditions that do that, or meditations that lead you to non-conceptuality, such as the formless absorptions and so forth. Let's see. Quotations from Gampopa, such as these: first, since mind itself does not exist. Did I read that right? Since mind itself does not exist, who recognizes the wisdom of stillness and movement? Those are the two main things to recognize, right? In the pointing out. So who recognizes? Thus, all that has been done and is being done is merely the difficult task of farming in space. It's like growing flowers in
Can
space,
I
growing
just say I
space. Yeah,
love that? I love that expression,
yeah.
farming in space.
Me
Farming
too.
in
Ditto,
space.
Just
ditto. One of my
beautiful.
favorites.
Yep.
Definitely. Good one. That's it. That's your job. That's my job. Farming in space. People would think you're talking about like space stations, right? You're like growing food up there, and when you realize
That like
there's
the building nests in space. I think there's a
building nests in space,
that
yeah,
says
that
that
too.
you can jump a
Building buildings in space. When you realize there is no mind, appearances are set free. When you don't evaluate, thoughts arise and release. When you don't have ambitions, everything is equal. When you realize that, your meditation is continuous. Refinement through the conducts that integrate all experiences into the path, a section called that begins with an explanation of the timing, necessity, and purpose of using different types of conduct or behavior as a way to refine our experience of Mahamudra. Instructions are given for how to integrate our normal diluted thoughts into the path instead of allowing them to pull us into confusion. Wow, we should go there first. We should go to this section right away. Specifically,
This it seems like you just went through this whole thing saying, and finally you'll get to the point where there is no path. And then here it goes. Well, but let's go back to the path.
let's go back to the beginning. Let's be realistic. Specifically, there are 6 contexts for applying the instructions: thoughts, kleshas, mental afflictions, God, demons, things like sort of like spiritual materialistic avenues, places where we think, oh, this is the right way to go, but it's actually a trap. Suffering,
Well,
illness,
can you
and
give an
death.
example of that?
Like bliss, clarity, and non-thought. Getting caught in bliss, clarity, and non-thought is one of them. One of them is. So
One of the
this is
demons.
one of the demons. This is generally the 4 maras, as Trungpa
Okay.
Rinpoche presents them. The first one is Deva Putra Mara, thinking that you're the son of a
Ah,
god, and so you're entitled to experience a god realm. There's many people who act that way. Anyway, chapter 14, realization and the 4 yogas, describes how realizations of Mahamudra will develop using the framework of the 4 yogas. One-pointedness, freedom from elaborations, sometimes translated as simplicity. One taste and non-meditation. The other 3 are standard translations. Pretty much everyone uses them. It outlines this according to whether we are the instantaneous, bypassing, or gradual type of person. This is what Cynthia was referring to earlier as instantaneous people, just like speed along the path, just like jump over. That's very rare. And usually they say that instantaneous people actually have to go through the gradual path first. Bypassing is like skipping certain stages, or the gradual type, which honestly is most of us, and then explains the differences between understanding, experience, and realization. So another way of characterizing the development of the path, the progression of the path, is first there's understanding. So we read and we contemplate and we study and we analyze conceptually. We come to understand emptiness, Mahamudra, conateness. And then we have experiences of these things that we developed a view about. We have experiences of emptiness or clarity or non-attachment, non-clinging, little glimpses, and those fade. Experiences are like patches that wear away, or like dew drop on grass that disappear when the sun arises. So we have these little flashes, and sometimes people get caught by these, like that experience that I had 5 years ago in meditation. Wow, that was really it. That was something. And we like spend the rest of our life trying to recreate that experience. And realization. So realization is when it becomes more like a continuous experience. Tashi Namgyal provides citations from the Lanka Avatara Sutra I mentioned earlier, Descent into Lanka, and elsewhere to demonstrate that descriptions of the four yogas are found in the sutras and the tantras, while also saying that they are a dharma of realization, of Gampopa. So it's a scheme that he found in other sutras and in various sutras and tantras, and then sort of formalized them and condensed them into this structure of the four stages of the path. He credits Gampopa, let's see. He credits Gampopa with categorizing precisely the experiences and realizations of each of the four yogas and their gradations, and laying these out in a way that is easy to understand even for practitioners these days. Gampopa's explanations of the four yogas are preserved in the writings of his students, such as Gongtso, Gongcheng, Pakmadrupa, and their students Sangpa Zhang Rinpoche, and others. Tashi Namgyal draws on their works to look at the four yogas in terms of their distinctive realizations, range of experiences, meditative equipoise, post-meditative attainment, time, and other features. In chapter 15, the four yogas in detail is drawn from or resembles texts by some of those people we just mentioned, Pakmajupa, Jigtun, Sumgun, Sangpa and Yang Gonpa, all masters of the various schools of Kagyu tradition. Each of the four yogas can be divided into lesser, intermediate, and greater levels, making 12. 4 times 3. Tashi Namgyal comments that they are not, however, like rungs of a ladder. We may find that even when we haven't perfected the greater level of a particular yoga, we may develop at the lesser or intermediate level of the next yoga, which gives us hope that even without having perfected the greater level of one-pointedness, which would be the full accomplishment of shamatha, we can have a development of the lesser or intermediate stage of freedom from complexity, or the second yoga, simplicity. I can't remember what term she just used.
Elaboration.
Freedom from elaborations, thank you. Each of the four yogas is discussed in terms of its divisions, the way experiences arise, and the methods for sustaining those. In the sections on their divisions, Tashi Namgyal defines each one, describes its subdivisions, and applies 6 criteria used by Tsongpa Gyore to determine whether the realization of the perspective yoga has developed or not. Isn't that cool? 6 ways of seeing whether you genuinely have accomplished a certain stage of the path. That's helpful. It's like an at-home COVID test that you can do. Oh, that was a really bad example. Sorry about that. Whether the essence has been seen, mastery has been achieved, thoughts arise as meditation, excellent qualities have developed, there's proficiency with the conventional, and the seeds for the Rupakayas have been planted. The Rupakayas, the seeds for the Rupakayas, not the Dharmakaya, the Rupakayas. Presumably the others are leading towards the Dharmakaya. The section on how experiences arise and the methods for sustaining those offer close-up descriptions and practical instructions. The conclusion of Moonbeams, how the bhumis and paths are traversed through those four yogas, comes under the heading, The Way Realization Develops Through Sustaining Meditation, which began in chapter 14. Tashi Namgyal notes that Gampopa and his nephews Gomtsul and Gomchung did not explicitly teach a correspondence between the four yogas of meditation and the bhumis and paths. Therefore, he refers to correlations provided by Zhang Rinpoche, Tsongpa Gyare, and Gutsongpa, and then gives his own rough correlation. Tashi Namgyal sums this up by saying that the excellent qualities of the bhumis taught in the philosophical yanas are intentionally ambiguous and are not clear indicators of a particular stage of the path, interestingly. Therefore, it is impossible to identify the attainment of a meditator solely based on externally evident signs. With that, the presentation of the stages of meditation of Mahamudra, the abiding state, is completed. Isn't that an interesting term, the abiding state? That basically we're all in Mahamudra all the time. Moonbeams is a tapestry woven with the threads of the instructions of the Indian Mahasiddhas and early Tongpo Kagyu masters, especially Gampopa. The rich display of the resulting work has also provided the starting threads for other compositions and teachings. Sections of Moonbeams are incorporated into the third Kamcho Rinpoche's unsurpassable complete path. Now, the third Kamcho Rinpoche is the author of the Royal Seal of Mahamudra, and that may be a different translation of the title. But anyway, Karmatashi Chupal's catalog to the Peipung edition of Indian Mahamudra text. So one of the things Tibetans in general are obsessed with books and texts, and so they one of the genres of literature in Tibet is tables of contents, catalogs of books, where they go through and they'll describe the contents. And in doing that, in some cases like this, they actually have wonderful explanatory sections about the material contained in them. And Jamga Kongtrul's Treasury of Knowledge, Foundations of Study and Practice, to name a few. So that's one of the 10 books of the Treasury of Knowledge. Smaller parts have been incorporated to many texts. So again, this predilection for plagiarism, where it's fine. If they got it right in one place, you just incorporate it. Smaller parts have been incorporated into many texts, both within the Kagyu tradition and without. Within and without. For example, Jigme Lingpa's Lion's Roar and White Lotus. So this is not the TV series White Lotus. This is a book by Jigme Lingpa, who is one of the greatest teachers in the Nyingma tradition. And it's an amazing book, White Lotus. It's a explanation of the 7-line supplication to Padmasambhava. It's in sort of 4 levels, outer, inner, secret, and fourth. It's an amazing book. And Jigme Lingpa's Lion's Roar, an abbreviated translation of which appears in Trungpa Rinpoche's book called Mudra, called something like the Maha'ati, the incomparable Maha'ati or something. And he doesn't translate the full text, so it's now available in complete translation in a number of other texts, fortunately. And you can tell which parts are missing by comparing them. Anyway, so Jigme Lingpa also plagiarized happily from this text. Undoubtedly more will be identified as we have greater access to Tibetan texts in searchable digitized forms or in translation. The tapestry continues to supply threads of instruction for contemporary Kagyu masters' teachings, some of which have been published as books. Lobsang Lolungpa's translation of Moonbeams aided Western scholars' knowledge of Tashi Namgyal's Mahamudra presentation and his rebuttal of Sakyapandita's criticism of Kagyu Mahamudra. This is a very politic or polite way of Elizabeth referring to that translation as not being really a great translation, but helpful in aiding Western scholars for many years before her translation and sort of gaining a glimpse into what it contained. But when you compare the two translations, it's sort of shockingly different. Anyway, it was a good start, very good start. Moonbeams is also part of the curriculum in contemporary Karma Kagyu and Drikung Kagyu monastic colleges, but primarily it is a text for meditators. Its instructions are to be internalized through practice, and so it is hoped that this new translation will allow the brilliance of Moonbeams to reach English readers and that they will pair its breadth and depth with the more concise, session-based approach of the ninth Karmapas, dispelling the darkness of ignorance. Brilliant segue into the second text contained in the book that you hold in either your hands or on your digital device. I don't know if you can say you hold it, but the ninth Karmapa is dispelling the darkness of ignorance. So in Wanchak Dorje, ninth Karmapa, 1556 to 1601. So let's see, Tashi Namgyal's dates. Did they give us Tashi? Where did they give us Tashi Namgyal? It's helpful to compare the dates of them. I don't know.
I got him.
Thanks.
Born in 1513, and he died in 15, I think it was 87.
Great. Thank you, Debbie. All right, so they overlapped quite a bit. So 1556, he was Tashi Namgyal was what 43 when the ninth Karmapa was born, who was renowned for his Mahamudra trilogy, 3 amazing texts on Mahamudra, Ocean of Definitive Meaning, dispelling the darkness of ignorance, and pointing out the Dharmakaya. He also made an important contribution to Karma Kagyu scholarship by arranging abbreviated versions of the eighth Karmapa's lengthy commentaries on the entrance to the middle way, which is Chandrakirti's text on Madhyamaka Avatara, usually translated as Introduction to the Middle Way, and The Treasury of Dharmadhatu by Vasubandhu. The eighth Karmapa's commentaries are huge. They're like 3,000 pages or some ridiculous thing. So it's really cool that the ninth Karmapa came up with abbreviated versions, as well as composing other works on Vajrayana practice and philosophical topics. The texts in Wanchak Dorje's Mahamudra trilogy are called extensive, middle length, and abbreviated. This is similar to Tsongkhapa's 3 texts on the stages of the path. The shortest one is the 3 principal aspects of the path, and the middle one is called the middle stages of the path, and the big one is called the great stages of the path. So he has the extensive middle length and abbreviated, even though the middle length one, the spelling is only slightly longer than the one designated as abbreviated. Okay, pointing out the Dharmakaya. In the edition used for preparing this English translation of Dispelling the Darkness of Ignorance, this middle length text is only 5 pages longer than the abbreviated one. Since Wanchak Dorje did not provide dates for his Mahamudra compositions, we do not know the order in which they were written. They are very similar topically and structurally and can be used as complementary instruction manuals. Let's see. All 3 texts are divided into numbered sections designed to be progressive meditation sections, and all 3 include remarks specifically aimed at teachers. They're sort of like manuals for teachers. Now, in Tibet, books were not, even after the advent of the block printing, texts were not that widespread, and so generally the students did not all have copies of the text, and they would share, and so the teacher had a little bit of an edge over the students. They had the text that had both the questions and the answers in it. Now we are lucky students. We're very lucky students because we have the text that has both. They're very similar topically and structurally. All three include remarks specifically aimed at teachers. Additionally, the ocean of definitive meaning contains teaching sessions, some of which contain questions that teachers should ask their students. Overall, they're like quizzes, spot quiz. Overall, they're extremely useful texts for those giving Mahamudra instructions and for those practicing Mahamudra meditation. So Elizabeth has also translated the extensive text, The Ocean of Definitive Meaning, and the shorter one, pointing out the Dharmakaya, has been translated by the Nalanda Translation Committee. And I don't know of any other translation. Trungpa, however, has commentaries on all three. You can find those in his amazingly vast and profound collection of teachings that are published. Overall, they're extremely useful texts for giving Mahamudra instructions for those practicing it. Should be mentioned that in the Karmakagya Mahamudra tradition, a text is never considered a sufficient starting place. Practitioners are always introduced to Mahamudra by a qualified teacher, someone who can transmit the experiences and realization of Mahamudra, the nature of mind. The key is on qualified, which eliminates me as that person. So if you want to get a genuine experience and realization of Mahamudra, the nature of your mind, you'll need to find a qualified teacher for that. Text provide, I think everybody here knows that and is working on that. Text provides supports and guides to both the teacher and the practitioner. Then as a practitioner matures, texts serve as the so-called guru in the form of the words of the Sugata, which is one of the four types of gurus described by Wangchuk Dorje. We see this characterized as like the inner guru or the essence guru, some various ways of talking about different types of gurus. The external guru who takes physical form is not this, and then there's the guru that appears in the form of words of the Sugata, and then there's the internal. There's usually these three gradations of guru. I don't know offhand what his four ways are. Dispelling the darkness of ignorance begins with the four preliminaries: taking refuge, arousing bodhicitta, followed by Vajrasattva meditation, mandala offering, and Guru Yoga, the traditional nundros of Tibetan Buddhism, followed by the four contemplations, interestingly in reverse order from most presentations of nundro, which starts with the four contemplations, usually called the four reminders: death and impermanence, karma, the deficiencies of samsara, and the opportunities of a human life, which is usually the first of those four reminders. And we have incredible opportunity in this life as humans, and let's not waste that. Deal? Good. It is followed by brief sections on the four conditions for Mahamudra practice. Weariness. Weariness with samsara. Weariness with samsara as the causal condition. Anybody here weary with samsara? Yes. Tired of
That
this.
sounds like it's very painful.
Emily. Oh, she was raising her hand. She's weary with samsara. Thank you. That is the causal condition. Reliance on a genuine spiritual mentor as the dominant condition. So they're using the scheme of the four conditions that as a way of characterizing karmic cause and effect that is first appears, I think, or is made famous first in Vasubandhu's Treasury of Abhidharma, and then is used by the Sautrantikas to describe how perception happens, where the causal condition is the outer object that one perceives, the dominant condition is the sense base, and then the object condition is the outer object. The causal condition is like light shining on the object, being in front of you, your eyeballs. Anyway, certainty in the natural state of dharmata as the object condition. So that's like what we focus on, gaining certainty in the natural state of dharmata. And then fourth, being free from hope and fears, is the immediate condition. The immediate condition is described in that scheme by Vasubandhu as like, what's the ongoing situation that leads into the experience of whatever is just described in the first three. So the ongoing experience that we need to cultivate is being free from hopes and fears. Trungpa Rinpoche calls this hopelessness. We have to feel hopelessness. The main practice is then divided into 8
Sounds to me,
sessions.
I'm sorry, it sounds to me like what that means to me, letting go of hopes and fears, is to end the project of
Making
creating
samsara
a self.
bearable.
Well, creating a self.
Establishing yourself, yeah. Well, you've already created it, but like of perfecting
Well,
it.
well, it's like an ongoing process.
Yeah,
And it's sort of like putting an end to, or recognizing that this ongoing process is futile.
that's right. Otherwise characterized as trying to make samsara better than it is.
Yeah, bearable.
Bearable, not weariable. The main practice, 8 sessions on shamatha and 8 on vipassana. The shamatha instructions include a description of the posture, the ways to cultivate shamatha using a variety of focal supports, using no supports, or relying on the breath. This is followed by the techniques for counteracting dullness and agitation, and the section closes with a description of authentic shamatha. Interesting that this list, as she characterizes it, says ways to cultivate shamatha using a variety of focal supports, using no supports, or relying on the breath. The instructions for Vipassana are grouped into 2 sets of 4 ways to develop recognition of the nature of mind. First, there are 4 instructions for looking: up, down, left, and right. Just kidding. Looking. Look at stillness, look at movement, look at appearances and the body as one, and then finally, stillness and movement at the same time. Looking, learning how to look at stillness, learning how to look at movement. Then there are 4 so-called pointing out instructions. Pointing out the true nature of stillness, non-conceptuality and conceptuality, appearances and the body, and stillness and movement. The final section of the text, the conclusion, covers enhancement, such as which is comparable to what we saw in Tashi Namgyal's text of the sections called sustaining and eliminating deviations and strains, and whatever the last one was called. It covers enhancement, the 5 mistaken ideas, the 3 skills, and the 3 kayas. 5 mistaken ideas, 3 skills, and 3 kayas, 3 strains and 4 distractions, 4 deviations, 5 difficult passages, and 3 hindrances, and the development of a lot of lists and charts. The development of virtues and progressions and progression on the path. Specifically, Dispelling Darkness of Ignorance is somewhat less formally written than Moonbeams and has almost no citations or general observations. It speaks more directly to how we implement Mahamudra instructions during meditation sessions. Moonbeams addresses aspects of practice that are either not mentioned at all in Wangchuk Dorje's Mahamudra trilogy, or it discusses them in more detail. Taken together, the 2 texts complement each other well. Just to take a moment to look at the table, go back to the table of contents, which is on the page table called Contents. Doesn't have a page number, I don't think, not even a Roman one. And after the front matter, outlines, forwards, introduction, and the biography, we have Moonbeams of Mahamudra by Tashi Namgyal. Starts on page 3, and turning the page, it ends somewhere between 485 and 491. So we have some 485-ish pages for that text. That's a long text. And then we have Mahamudra Dispelling the Darkness of Ignorance by the ninth Karmapa, Wangchuk Dorje. That goes from 491 to, let's say, 535, something like that. So that's about 45 pages. It's a big difference. So periodically, and then eventually in the in-person practice sessions, which one can attend by Zoom. What should we call them? The live, I don't know, the practice sessions. So at some point we'll go through sections of that text. We'll use that. A word to the readers. I think she means some words, because there's a lot more than one word. I don't know, maybe she meant that collectively. Mahamudra instructions are meant to be given gradually in accordance with a practitioner's development. So the instinct is like to go to this juicy section, right, and like read the pointing out, or the four pointing outs and the dispelling darkness, right to the culmination. But you're sort of not supposed to do that. In the case of text, they're meant to be read slowly, which is what we'll do, preferably with the guidance of an experienced teacher. I'm sorry, you'll have to make do with this. Those who have received a lot of Mahamudra instruction may not find much that is new here, but this massive amount of magnificent instruction and advice is best digested slowly and experientially, like a good meal. Those who are new to Mahamudra practice should also proceed slowly, gradually absorbing the advice and approach, and we should all probably circle around again, reread, and reabsorb. So it's very helpful, like, to check out sections later on once we finish sections, come back to them. And I think most of us here have done that with the Trungpa Rinpoche's Profound Treasure of the Ocean of Dharma, at least volume 1 and 2, where you don't really get 100% of it the first time, maybe. Maybe some of us don't. And so you go back and you read different sections. Like you go back to volume 1 and you read the section on meditation. It's like, wow. So similarly with this text. Finally, this translation is dedicated to all who amble along the Mahamudra path. May it be the right companion. Then we have some acknowledgments, some technical notes. The preparation of the translations contained in this volume relied upon the following editions. It's probably not of interest to most of us here. Let's see. On page LXII, this is the second to last page of the translator's introduction, after she goes through the sources for the two texts. It says, in each translation, the small numbers embedded in square brackets are references to the page numbers of the primary editions used, in case you wonder later what those small numbers are. The endnotes primarily contain textual variants between the primary and consulted editions, textual variants between the source text, source Tibetan text and citation references. In other words, the endnotes are not all that instructive, and many of us are used to the texts, the translations of Kempo Karl Brunholzl, where the notes are an amazing feast of incredible information and understanding. And Elizabeth does it differently. She hides that amazing feast of information and understanding in the glossary. So remember, when you come across something that has a footnote, the footnote is, or the endnote is probably not going to be that helpful. It's probably going to have some unpronounceable Tibetan words with some numbers after it. It refers to some text and the pages in it. But go to the glossary and check out the glossary. And then even randomly check out the glossary, pick a topic like emptiness or and just check out. It's amazing. So some technical stuff about variations. the second to last paragraph of the introduction in the main body of the translation. The Tibetan phonetic system is used. See the table of Tibetan transliterations for the correlation between this. This is probably obscure to most of us. But let's see, that's not that helpful. And that's it. So
Could I
that's the
just,
end of the introduction. Yeah, please.
I just want to say that to both echo what you said about the glossary, but also she has this wonderful thing, another glossary that's called the Glossary of Enumerations. So for those who like lists, it's cool.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, there are these two types of glossaries. So general terms you can find in one, and then where it says like the 6 dharmas of Gampopa, or the 6 dharmas of Naropa, you have to go to the other glossary. And we have a couple of minutes left. Why don't we just take a peek at, let's see, what did we come across? The 4 types of mindfulness today. Let's see if we can find the 4 types of mindfulness. It's in the 4s. Oh, there it is on page 647. In the middle, 4 types of mindfulness. Mindfulness that solidifies or enforced mindfulness. That's the mindfulness taught generally as the Satipatthana Sutra. Mindfulness applied to emptiness, or the mindfulness that recognizes. True mindfulness, or mindfulness of unification, and mindfulness that is free from or transcends the intellect. Interesting. How about a general term? How about connate? What is she going to say about connateness? Let's look at connateness. Does she have it? No, she doesn't have connateness because it's described over and over again in the text. How about on the page where it should be 636?
Derek,
Yes, ma'am.
she has
Pick one.
types of connateness under the glossary of enumerations.
How many?
2.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. So that would be on the first page of the glossary of enumeration, 643. 2 types of connateness: natural connateness and the connateness of melting bliss. That sounds pretty good. Or the connateness of mind itself and the connateness of appearances. I guess there's 2 types of connateness, 2 systems of them. I don't know if that helped explain connateness much for people, but interesting. 2 types of mindfulness: mindfulness that leads to mindfulness, and mindfulness that focuses on mindfulness. Okay. Or mindfulness involving effort and effortless mindfulness. 2 types of meditation: objects of meditation for purifying mental afflictions, calmness and coarseness, and the 4 truths. Oh, that's interesting. As an object of meditation. Anyway, so
3 attachments are worthy of note as well.
The attachments?
3 attachments.
Oh,
I'm just saying are worthy of
I
note
have,
in terms of our
I,
path.
I have much more, many more. She's only got 3.
Yeah,
One
3.
one sense of self. So it's the same page, lower down. Possessions and samadhi.
Attachment to samadhi. Woo.
That's a hard one to give up. 3 types: categorization of shamatha in terms of functions. Moonbeams only list the first, the samadhi resting at ease in the present life. Does she give us the others? That's too long.
Something to do when you have spare time and feel like learning a little bit.
Yeah, how about 645, the 3 types of vipassana? Vipassana that arises from characteristics, that arises from thorough investigation, and that arises from discernment. Another is mundane, a lesser type of supermundane, and then Mahayana Vipassana, presumably the greater supermundane. Interesting. So,
Actually, there's another, believe it or not, if the 2 types of connateness were on the first page, there's a 3 types of connateness on 645 also.
oh, right, because it's by 2s and 3s.
That's right. It's so funny.
Well, we're out of time, though, so
Right, so
We didn't get to the author's biography. Did anybody make their way through that?
I
I got
did.
halfway.
Was that amazing or what?
Yeah, it was like, woo!
Wow, this was an unusual guy, but
Now,
wow.
when they say they left footsteps, is that where they leave like imprints in rocks?
That's
Footprints.
the idea,
Yeah.
yeah, footprints, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just had to clarify that one.
Yeah, that's a favorite pastime of tantric Buddhist masters in Tibet. Has anyone gone to Tibet and seen any footprints? I saw at Sermong. There's um, the fourth Trungpa, Kunga Namgyal, at the hermitage of Dorje Kyongzong, protect the teachings of the Kagyu, the heart teaching. He, at one point, he flew down from the retreat center of Dorje Kyongzong up in the mountains to the main monastery of Sermon. And he hit this rock and he left his footprints in the rock there. And I show you these footprints.
Show off.
I'd say is you wouldn't want to make like an impression of that and make shoes out of them, let's say, if you know what I'm getting at. Anyway, it's an amazing biography, a lot of very arcane stuff, but like, wow, this is like 10 people in one person, what he
Yeah, it had a lot
accomplished.
of energy,
A lot of energy, unbelievable.
as they all
So
seem to do.
I like the seeing through walls, and I was like, well, that's like staring at the back of a red leather chair and seeing the other side. And I was like, isn't that what I was trying to do?
That's right. That's what we were practicing. That's the giveaway, Chris. You weren't supposed to say that. That was part of the exercise on the practice day. Was to see if those of you that were sitting in front of walls, if you could see what was on the other side of the wall. See through. Yeah, they going through walls, and like, what is it? His as a kid he would do it, and his uncle would like scold him and yell at him for doing that. They're not supposed to do that. I heard a story that His Holiness the 16th Karma Panjamgun Kongtrul, when they traveled to the to the west, their first time somewhere in Europe, Jamgun Kongtrul supposedly did this. They were like uh, leaving somewhere and they were late, and he like forgot something in the room, and he went back into the room, and then he exited through the walls, supposedly, and His Holiness like yelled at him, gave him a really hard time. Don't, I told you not to do that. Anyway, shall we dedicate the merit? And so, if it's okay with you guys, we won't go through the bio next week. We'll go into the text. Is that cool? Good. If you have questions on the biography or things you want to point out, please do. We can do that next week. By this merit may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara may I free all beings. By the confidence of the golden sun of the great east, may the lotus garden of the Rigdon's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled. May all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory. That was cool though, going through the part of the introduction where she goes through the text and sort of sums up the text. That was neat. That was very neat. Thank you all very much. Great to see you. Have a great
Thank
week.
you,
Hope to
Darren.
Thank
see you
you, Derek.
soon.
Everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you next week.
Have a good week.
Bye. Thank you.